There are no forests on Earth. When you read this headline out loud, even with the exclamation mark at the end, every sensible person will say that I'm out of my mind, and you will want to show me tons of photos with images of forests. I want you to believe that this is another trick. They make us think that this is a forest, when you actually are looking at 30-meter bushes. This is total bullshit and nonsense, you will say to me. Of course we know what forests look like, because we've all walked in them. Well, I expect that's how you will react, and that's fair. But after watching this video, its headline won't seem so strange to you, because you will reverse your concept of forests by 360 degrees. We were blinded while in childhood. The outward world is quite different. We see things through a prism of habit and experience. And this prism distorts everything completely. Do you think I'm exaggerating? Look at this photo. I'm claiming that it is from a mesa that was formed from a magmatic melt from the Earth's depths about 200 million years ago. You think I'm out of my mind? Maybe you're out of your mind. You will understand soon. There is an uproar on the internet about forests. Why all forests in the earth, even in Siberia, are not older than 200 years old? Where are all the giants? But as always, illumination can come suddenly, and stereotypical thinking is to blame. 30-meter tall forests are like a virus that takes over both our brains and especially the brains of biologists. And here's the thing, we found these old photos. This is the vandalous felling of the sequoias in the California redwood between 1880 and 1920. These trees miraculously survived the planet's bombardment in 1816. Just imagine how many years this tree needs to grow to these sizes. Then these terrible men come with saws and axes. 1, 2, and no more tree. I understand that they are just wage workers, and they must feed their families, that this is just an order from above. But if every single woodcutter refused to carry out these criminal orders, all the forests would be saved, because their demon bosses are too arrogant to do it with their own hands. And that is why I will send these merry woodcutters' defenders to a well-known place. Look at this photo carefully. They look like satanic bacterias that want to kill the forest organism. Let's summarize everything. Remains of the giant trees of the past are found, and homeless ice and snow of the poles took their place in the mosaic. It seems like everything is clear, but it is not. Nothing is so simple. If we take myths and legends of all nations, you can find lots of stories about people, animals, and plants morphing into stone. This is normal because paleontologists all over the world dig petrified fossils of humans, animals, and plants. There are so many of them that old museums are overfilled with petrified fossils of clovers, frogs, lizards, and so on. Frogs and clovers are fine, but what about the forests? Guys, where are the trees? Old sequoias of California do not fit here because they are made of carbon. It means they are not related to the Silicon era. Why do I know this? First off, they were cut and sawed by standard instruments. All axes and saws would break if they had to cut silicon. So where are the silicon trees, if those giants from carbon are not related to the silicon era? Guess what? They were found. Guess where? In the same North America, in Arizona to be precise. Here are our silicon trees. I wanted to introduce to you the museum under the open sky. Petrified trees here are just scattered in the desert and also fenced. Everyone today can visit this circus called Petrified Forest National Park. In this park, petrified fossils are not common. They are unique. If turtles and frogs were petrified in pale gray boulders, then this trees morphed into semi-precious stones. Beautiful stones, aren't they? Transforming wood into semi-precious stones, this is where the lies and ignorance become uncontrollable. First of all, according to the official story, these trees lost in an unequal battle against a neighbor volcano. Attention, 225 million years ago. But wait, there's more! This wood not only burned in hellfire, not only rotted into the wet ground, against all the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology, just transmorphed into precious gems. But this is not the end. Trees are not broken. Trees are sawn into even, accurate pieces. Well, I want to know the name of this brand of chainsaw that Aborigines use for this. But the conclusion is that this is not a museum, but stage theater. These trees were sawn and brought here by someone. You know, only a true fool would believe in the magical transformation of wood into precious stones and gems. Here's another question. For what purpose did they make this circus with all these scattered pieces of silicon life form? And did you pay attention to how small these silicon trees are? They are incomparable, even with the sequoias of California. But this one is simple. They are not trees. They are trees' branches, giant silicon trees. And these trees were so big that American sequoias near them look like sticks near the baobab. And I want to ask you, what do you see? A tree stump in the daisies? This is mesa that was formed from the magnetic melt from the Earth's depths about 200 million years ago. Do you not believe me? And now? Let me introduce to you, this is Devil's Tower, mesa, or so-called laccolith, that was formed from a magnetic melt from the Earth's depths about 200 million years ago. At least that's what Wikipedia tells us. And billions of people believe that this is mesa, laccolith, or a mountain. Really? Let's come closer to our tree stump to look at his fantastically inexplicable columns. Let's look in the Wikipedia ones again. Igneous rock is formed through the cooling and solidification of lava. Really? What a smart magnetic melt! It's just stood still and froze in the appearance of perfect hexagonal column for 300 meters in the sky. You can synchronize your instruments with these miraculous columns. Were they squeezed out of cream injector, then tied in a bun like a broom, and then a big giant fan blew near to help the columns to curdle faster? Maybe the columns of Parthenon or Isaac's Cathedral were built in the same way. Gentlemen scientists, are you out of your mind writing this garbage? Humans, are you out of your mind believing this garbage? Claiming that this geometrical masterpiece appeared as the result of a lava fountain is the same bullshit as claiming that a racing car appears on the track because of an explosion at a Ferrari factory. Have you ever seen what a fountain of lava looks like? In those times, lava had artificial intelligence. Really? Comparative analysis. All columns are hexagonal. Why exactly hexagonal? Because the universe's masterpieces are built in this form. There are no snowflakes exactly the same, but all of them are in a perfect hexagonal shape. Bees, too, without the knowledge of mathematics, correctly identified that the regular hexagon has at least perimeter among all the other shapes of equal area, so you can fill this shape most efficiently. When bees build honeycombs, they instinctively try to make them as roomy as possible and spend as little wax as possible. Hexagonal shape is the most efficient, economical figure for building a honeycomb. Blind sheep cannot understand that our universe is fractal. That is why there is no difference in what scale you study it, in the scale of a mountain or the scale of a tree that everyone has outside their window. And now let's open a botany textbook. Let's find the structure of any plant and let's compare it with our giant stump. We won't go deep into this. We only want facts that fall into our hands from the stump's photos. So it will be useless to try to argue against those facts. I want to introduce you to the cross-section of a stem of flax. Well, well, gentlemen biologists, are you noticing anything? No? Look, it seems like honeycombs in the middle. Wowzers, and they are all hexagonal. Well, well, what a coincidence. If we remove skin around this flax, our stump skin is the same. Let's look at the small rocks around it, and guess what? Flax looks exactly like our stump from the bird's eye. They look identical. Exactly. The stump's fibers, like the fibers of the flax, has a hexagonal shape that is strictly preserved. It is geometrical the entire length of the stem, and that is as much as 384 meters. They are no different for the whole length, but are relative to each other. It is a branch of armature hexagonal cross-section after leaving the metal rolling mill. The fibers are not attached to each other, since they freely exfoliate and fall as the stone erosion goes. Each fiber out of our stump is covered with a thin skin, exactly like fascia, a thin sheath of fibrous tissue enclosing a muscle or other organ. Fibers do not go into the ground vertically. They gradually bend to transform into the root system like every tree does. As you can see, the official story of spontaneous and accidental solidification of lava is 100% bullshit and falling apart quickly. In 1977, Hollywood made a film called Close Encounters of the Third Kind, with Devil's Tower playing the main role, where we were told 100 times that this is a mountain where we can meet aliens. But this garbage is suitable for fools only. But where were your eyes, gentlemen? Hey, biologists, geologists, paleontologists, are you here? Do you study the world in a welder mask? In proportion of this tree, we can see a rule. The diameter of the stump is 3 times bigger than the woodcutter's or feller's growth. Let's look at this formula. You just think about it. You are entering a forest that is not usually 30 meters, but 100 meters. Let's use the formula that I mentioned earlier. The diameter of our stump is 300 meters at the base. So if we calculate 300 over 20, we will get the height of, are you ready? 6 kilometers, 19,685 feet. Just think about it. Everything is learned in comparison. I think we can put a big fat dot in here. Devil's Tower is a giant stump of a giant silicon tree with all the attributes of a normal stump that everybody's seen. But we should not underestimate the matrix that keeps all the cattle in the stables. I am sure that after such clear evidence there will still be deep sleeping people who will ask for more. If you think that that's all my arguments, I want to disappoint you because I have so many trump cards up my sleeve, and I will enjoy every moment that I will throw them on the table. Well, we figured out everything about this stump. Let's move to another one. Yes? And you thought that this was the only one? You just need to remove your blinkers and you will see so much. Let me introduce to you Giant's Causeway in Ireland. Notice something familiar? Take a closer look. Again, hexagonal columns. Wow. If you did not notice the similarity to the Devil's Tower's fibers, you must be 100% blind. This is the same giant stump, but now it did not come out of the ground. This tree grew right on the sea's shore. The Giant's Causeway consists of almost 40,000 columns of such geometrical proportions that all the bees in the world would be jealous. Guess what the official science bleats about this Irish stump? Giant's Causeway is an area of about 40,000 interlocking basalt columns that result of an ancient volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption! Please tell me how to stay calm and not erupt in a fountain of swear words in the direction of this science society. It's no less strange why street sidewalk tiles are not declared as a result of an ancient volcanic eruption. Show me a single difference, nerds. And now I'd like you to come back to our old method and compare Giant's Causeway, but this time with real lava. I want you to remind you how lava erupts and flows, and this is how it congeals. And now let's compare with Devil's Tower with Giant's Causeway. Oh, sorry for my French. I mean, let's compare silicon stump with silicon stump. Somebody still believes in the lava fountain? If I didn't know about giant silicon trees, I'd rather believe in a giant cream injector and a fan, but not in volcano garbage. If you think that these two giant silicon trees are the only thing that I can show you, then you are mistaken. There are loads of them on the planet. The funniest thing is that normal people do not realize that they are stumps. But official science realized that seriously, that they should find out how to hide these trees from people who ask too many questions, and they invented a genius name for these silicon stumps: the basalt cliffs. I want you to pay attention to these two pictures where fibers hang from the ceiling. How can volcanic version explain that? Lava was dripping, but its drops did not fall to the ground. The drops stuck by their hexagonal honeycombs. Look at this picture. Just an everyday photo with this girl. It's good. But the only thing she does not realize is that she's sitting near the stump of a silicon tree. Now you understand that 7,500 years ago, our planet was so fantastic, fabulous, and beautiful that Cameron with his avatar is a poor substitute. We saw many stumps, but this one is special. It has a flat surface on top, which means it was cut down. Devil's Tower is a small one compared to the others. We will fly around the planet. Fasten your seatbelts and better hold on to the handrails, because everything you will see will overturn your notion of rocks and mountains. Let's go! There are only two differences: material and size. These stumps are sticking out everywhere on the whole planet. There are hundreds of them. Scientists call them mesas, which means table in Spanish, because they have a flat peak, flat as a table. Well, cool, stumps. But realize that Devil's Tower is a young plant compared to other trees on our planet. For example, this mountain in Cape Town in Africa is really impressive. This plateau is 3 kilometers in diameter. If we multiply 3 by 20, we will get a tree of 60 kilometers high. Do you have any clue how big its branches are? On one of the branches you could easily place a huge residential area with all the shopping malls, schools, and parks. Just imagine how huge it is. Of course, your mind will never see that this mountain in Africa is really a tree that is 10 times higher than the Devil Tower tree, 60 kilometers higher. But guess what? That's not the limit. In the work of Russian scientist and poet Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin, we can read about giant fairy oaks that was on the Bayan Island near Lokomori, and we now believe has been killed by our government. That oak was supposed to be the center of the earth and was some 100 kilometers high. Not sure how high, but for sure higher than the Cape Town one. This oak was the biggest plant on earth. Imagine what is hidden from us with a curtain. That is why the apocalypse is translated as curtain opening. The real world is different. I can call today's state of society a real dream, and the sad part is it is not figurative. You know, in the Russian language, the word tree is spelled D-E-R-E-V-O, de-re-vo. The word ancient tree is spelled D-re-vo, and the word ancient trees is spelled de-re-nost. It means in Russian language, the language of the Aryans, time, when giant old trees grew. Interesting, isn't it? So we can ask ourselves, where did all the other forests go? The thing is that this so-called mesa are just single ones, because only the best were chosen for cutting. Whole other forests up the planet were laid down by blast waves. We reviewed only stumps with flat peaks. Does anyone remember how not cut but actually broken trees look like? We thought we saw forests and even walked in them. So what does it matter if they are only 30 meters high? Is there a difference? We're pleased with the one we have left. Trees are energy generators. They produce constant electricity, oxygen from photosynthesis, food. They have a root network and are programmed to exchange data. Our ancestry had a theory that trees are programmed to keep data from everything on the planet and save it in their information portal in their carbon fibers. Everything you find now was part of our ecosystem. But then people said they want to be gods themselves, and they screwed everything up. I want to ask you, open your minds. They live, we sleep. But they not only live, they're also killing our planet. They are doing it right now while you're watching this. Wake up, humans. You must review all the instruction they gave you in elementary school, middle school, high school, history, geography, geology. Open your mind. If you think that the earth is flat, you are half awakened. Maybe it's time we think for ourselves. Really think about what you've been told your whole life and question everything.
Can you see the miracles around you? Everything was created for our benefit. Microscopic organisms that engulf every living thing on the earth was created just for us. That, my friends, is a love that's amazing and unconditional. Have you noticed the miracles around you? Our earth is not an accident. We are not an accident. Who are these people who have kept this from us? What are they? We have taken our first huge step to break away from the programming. We know right from wrong. We know righteousness. We are beginning to peel layer after layer of worthless concepts of science that have kept us blinded from the truth, to finally see glimmers of light